So you shared a few goodies here about how people, can start working on their self-awareness. And I love what you said about, okay, do not dismiss your experiences, like what you've learned in life so far, because we tend to go and look for, okay, what's out there, or like what the expert says, or like, oh, I love this yogi, talk on TED Talk, and I'm going to try his method before even exploring, okay, what did I do in the past that worked for me, right? Or like, okay, what can I do today with my own experience and knowledge without adding new ones, so I can, start this practice.
Yes, totally. There has to be balance there. I mean, I don't live like an ostrich with my head in the sand, ignoring expert advice. And, I don't endeavor to make every mistake myself for myself when I can learn from other people's experiences. But there just has to be some balance there. If we spend all of our time sort of putting our attention and intention externally to us. So, in the stack of books on the shelf, and the podcasts, and the blogs, and the TED Talks, and all of that, then it crowds out the quiet little voice in our own head, in our own heart, that's us. So if we're constantly stimulated, if we're constantly bombarding ourselves with other voices, whether it's audio, whether it's a book, and so on, then it's really easy to miss who we are, to lose who we are and our experience in the mix.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you just, talk to me directly in that sense. Is truly the one lesson that I'm learning these days, is that I used to be afraid of silence, like I told, in our episodes together, and like episode 54. And now I'm enjoying silence, and I'm aware of, okay, I need to stop bringing new knowledge, right? I need to stop, taking a walk and listening to a podcast or a book, right? What can I do with all the knowledge that I have accumulated until today to really make a difference, or to make the change that I want to make? So when is enough? Like, as you said, we need to find the balance, right? We need to find the balance. So when, for you, on your like journey until today, how did you figure out the balance that works for you?
It's a great question. I would say it's sometimes a moving target. And for me, I reached a point, I do recall reaching kind of a distinct point, maybe about a year and a half ago. I had been in, this very intense period of information intake, going through the coach training program. It was drinking out of a fire hose of information about health and wellness and biohacking and all of these subjects. And it was great. And I learned a lot. And I would buy books from, to read more about different subjects. And like you mentioned, at a certain point, I realized I had a lot of half-read books. And I just recall having the experience of going, it's just feeling overwhelmed by it. And I felt like intake of additional information from the outside world, specifically in terms of like other people telling me how the world is, what I should do, what my business should look like, how I should, do X, Y, Z. I just started to realize had reached a point of kind of diminishing returns. It wasn't doing anything more for me, and that it was crowding in on the space and time I allotted for my own thoughts and feelings and experiences. At a certain point, you look at the time in the day, or I look at the time in the day, and I said, well, I'm spending an awful lot of time listening to other people's thoughts, and I'm not spending the time I care about spending time with, with my own thoughts, whether that's actively writing them in a blog post or whether that's me going for a walk by the creek and just letting them occur in my head and just seeing how I feel about them. So I made a conscious choice to kind of turn down the dial on the experts, on other people's experience, not in a I'm not ignoring what's out there. I'm just kind of being a little more selective about my intake.
Right. And while you were just describing your process, I am living that today. It's really crazy, like how you evolve. And like for me, I decided also to really, stop learning anything new. I mean, I've been learning and learning and learning and learning nonstop since forever. And I just needed to stop because, first of all, it was really overwhelming too, in a sense of like I didn't go through all the information. It's really too much, especially after going, after our certification, coach certification. It's mind-boggling all the knowledge that there is about anything and everything. And I was like, you know what? At this point in my life, I don't need all this knowledge. At this point of my life, what really matters for me is like, okay, how do I handle my nutrition, right? So, my nutrition, and then how can I make it a good habit, right? Of like changing my bad habits and like making or replacing my bad habits. Well, you don't replace bad habits. Yes, you replace bad habits. I'm getting confused. You replace bad habits by good habits. And this takes a process in itself. So I'm like more selective. I don't need to learn about, brain hacking because that's not the priority today in my life, right? So I became also selective about the knowledge that I take in. Having said that, anything else that you want to add about self-awareness to really conclude this episode?
Well, I'll just add that, awareness, self-awareness, all these other experts tell us the what and the how, but creating a space to cultivate our own awareness, our self-awareness, our mindful awareness, whatever we choose to call it, it answers those questions of the who and the why, who we are and why something is important to us or why it's not. Because, we see this all the time. People have a goal to change this or that, and they have the objective information. They know that if they exercise more and eat better, then it will change, it'll create the changes they want in their life. But we don't necessarily do that from having the information. And what's lacking a lot of time is the who and the why. Because when we know who we are, and we start to know why it's important to us to make these changes, that's when things happen. That's when the magic happens. So knowing what and how is not enough for us, for the human animal, most of the time. We really have to tap into our internal motivations and to what inspires us and what motivates us. And the way we know what those things are by seeing how we respond to things, and not just waiting for something to be a big problem, but noticing, I just had this experience and I feel heavy, I feel tired. That's a noticing, that's awareness. Or I just did this thing and I thought I wouldn't like it and I did it. And I actually, I feel strong, I feel empowered, I feel proud of myself. So the more we notice those things, the more we can, cultivate that self-knowledge, and self-knowledge is power.
100%. And it sucks because you have to do the work, but it's so rewarding. There is no quick pill, download this file and you will know yourself. It's something that you have to do every day. And and it takes time, and you're going to discover things that you like and things that you don't like about yourself, but it's still you. So you got to accept them. That's another, episode in itself. So yes, thank you so much for this conversation of self-awareness. I love having these conversations because, again, the goal is to have another perspective, another thought process, because we're all different, because we all have different experiences, different lives. We're living in two different continents. We're not even the same. It's like men, women, white, Arab, everything different. but we still, aiming for the same. We're still, on this journey to become better, to learn about ourselves, and, to play out our gift, our unique gift to the world. So I want to thank you for this conversation.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me on. Always enjoy it.
So thank you everybody for tuning in. Please, sharing is caring, as I say. If you feel like there is someone around you that needs to listen to this, send it to him. Subscribe if you haven't, and leave a review also on Apple Podcasts, and everything will be shared on the podcast. And I will see you next time, or talk to you next time. I always say see you next time, but I will talk to you next time. So enjoy your day. And it was Fatima K, and an episode of the Human Potential Institute. No, of the Fit Fun podcast. I'm in my head. I'm not present anymore. So thank you guys. Bye. Bye, Golder.
Bye. Thank you.